Oh my gosh, this video is so scary. That soundtrack is so sinister. And you know what? This has been put together with a free plugin from Native Instruments. It's called 25 and it's here to celebrate 25 years of Native Instruments. Can you believe it's been 25 years of Native Instruments? This company has produced some fantastic plugins and hardware over the years, and you've seen me use these across many videos on the channel. Now in this video, we're going to take a look at a brand new plugin which is free to celebrate this fantastic 25-year period. And this sample-based instrument has been created using some familiar Native Instruments plugins. As you can see from this list, it's really extensive and it's a great way to get a rich selection of sounds for your productions. Now, because it's nearly Halloween, I'm going to put together a scary soundtrack to a video, and I'm going to do so using entirely the Native Instruments 25 instrument and my S61 keyboard. I've already picked out my favorites, and you can see that I've got the star indicating that on the keyboard screen. And this is my hand-picked selection of dark, mysterious and dramatic sounds that are going to suit this video. So let's take a look. It's a dramatic piece of footage shot at nighttime on my phone, and it has a real atmospheric vibe. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of these sounds that I've picked and favorited, and we're going to compose in real time to start off with and then see what happens. I'm going to load a preset now, and we've got a whole bunch of controls that we can play around with here. Let's see what it sounds like. Now that's quite a low note. This preset I remember sounded better up high. So that could be useful to add some high-end drama. Let's take a look at this other one. And let's switch the octave down. Now this has got a great sinister texture. And if I increase the lo-fi, it allows me to bring this to life over time. So I could use that with automation at certain points in the video to create drama. What else have I got? Yeah, I love that. And a lot of these sounds really come alive with the controls on the S61. Yeah, I really like that. So what's next? And of course we can use pitch bend to create a sinister rising pitch. I can see myself using that at particular times in the video. Now this is a really expressive sound, so there's almost like a pounding low frequency heartbeat texture, and then this kind of raw, scratchy kind of high end. Now that feels almost John Carpenter-esque, but I'm not sure I'm going to go quite so musical with this one. Oh man, that one's dramatic. Maybe not so much in the lower registers. Yeah, these are all great, but I need a starting point, so let's have a scan through. Let's start with this one here, but lower down the keyboard. I'm going to use the remote controls on the S61 to record in Ableton Live a long, sustained note. Already this sounds great, and if I adjust the cutoff over time, and there's a lot of movement already in the sound. It's kind of pulsing in a really sinister way. Now maybe as a contrast, as we head towards the end of the sequence, I'll bring the filter cutoff frequency down. So literally, I'm performing this to the video sequence. Okay, let's play that back and really focus on the video and see how that feels. So that sounds great. I'm very happy with that. But I want something else, another drone of some kind. Let's search for another sound. Now, as you can hear, the previews are playing quite high up the keyboard. But as I suspected, that actually sounds great. Especially with some pitch bend on the keyboard. But something's lacking. I feel like I need a wider range of pitch modulation. So what I can do is I can go into the settings on the 25 plugin and make an adjustment. Now conventionally you go plus 12 or minus 12, something similar, but I want to go for something a bit weird here, maybe 7. Yep, loving that. Let's record it in. Now my gut feeling is towards the end it's going to need something super dramatic, but the elements that I've recorded in, we can do some fine tuning using automation. Now I need a contrasting texture, maybe something that's got more high frequency energy or mid energy. Actually, I like the idea of a choir. Now that's nice, but I feel it's slightly too melodic for this visual. Now just seeing if there's anything new that the controllers can bring. Ah, there we go. Yeah, that's the kind of modulation that I like on this sound. So I've taken the notes higher because the other pads are an octave lower. That feels like it works. Let's record that in. Okay, so in reality, the composition session took 3 hours. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a deconstruction of what I put together here now. But first, let's watch the whole thing completely with the video. That thing is so tense. So you can see what happened there. The drones were part of a kind of background, and actually some other elements really came to the foreground. So we'll go through some of those. And you can really also hear that crescendo towards the end of tension as the girl goes up to the gate, and who knows what's behind. So I think the first thing that I want to do, let me just minimize this window, is to really focus on the instruments. Now, the first sound that I'm going to introduce to you is this one. This is Winter Mood. And let's open this up. And we're going to see that this is a preset called Winter Mood. I've got it on my other monitor. I'm just going to bring this up. This is very distinctive. And what's happening here is there is modulation being applied. Let me take away the browser here. So this is nice and clean and simple. And let's get this so that we can see the automation. So in the Complete Control plugin itself, there is modulation of cutoff. So we start low, which is reducing the mids and the highs, and then gradually over time they're revealed. So with that solo, let's have a listen. You can, of course, see the cutoff frequency going up here. But for me, this was the introduction, really just setting the scene in a dramatic way. Whilst the drones were underneath, there was a bed of those going on. And I felt I needed to control this over different frequency bands. That's why I've got the multi-band compression. I also rolled off some of the highs because I felt it's slightly too bright. So it's a very, very important element. So what else do we have? In that section, we've got a couple of those drones that I recorded in, and these have been refined. So have a listen to this one. And by the way, this is with automation. So gradually it reveals itself over time. So whereas at the beginning of the video you saw me recording this in and it felt like it was the priority, now it's not so. But the pitch modulation is there. This pitch modulation is done at the clip level. You see that? It's rising up. And right up to that point where the gate is going to be opened. And the other thing that I do is to literally take the volume of that sound right down to 0. So everything slams to silence, but actually that section is complemented by some other sounds. Okay. So that one, as you can see, is a preset on the 25 and it's called Paddy. So next up, another sound, Underwater Jim. Let's bring this to the foreground. Let's have a listen to this. Starts later. Another one with pitch modulation at the MIDI level. I spent a lot of time fine-tuning these details. It wasn't perfect straight away. There we go, stops again. And also in the same section, I put these all into a group, the drones group. The next one is Vociferous, which was that choir. And this one has a couple of parameters modulated, including that talk parameter, which I felt was very interesting, but I actually performed it in slightly differently in the end. Okay, let me see if we can bring the complete control parameters up so you can see that. There we go. It's moving, becomes a bit more kind of modulated towards the end, a bit more up and down. Let's have a listen to this one. In fact, what I need to do is just take it back to the beginning. And I think we've got some volume automation here. There we go. So it's coming up very, very gradually. So this was deliberate. So it was really subtle at the beginning where the other elements are taking precedence. Remember, this winter mood stab that we had at the beginning. And then what happens is that it's, in a way, it's a transition. It's the point at which you go through that forest and then something reveals itself, which is this weird fence and gate. But the person in the video is going to explore that. And now this choir comes up to increase a kind of interest at this point, create some more tension. And you can hear that moving up and down through the modulation of that parameter, that talk parameter. And it drops off deliberately because I wanted to create space for the other sounds coming up. So the pads in the background, there's another thing actually that works in a similar fashion. Let me bring this up. This is the Res Escape preset on the 25. You know, when you listen to horror soundtracks, there's quite often a sustained note of tension. And this is one of those sounds, but it's got some subtle modulation in there in the actual sound itself, so it moves. I love this. Some slight pitch modulation again at the actual clip level. There we go. And when I set the actual amount on the pitch bend, I made sure that they were different from instance to instance to create this weird kind of non-musical cacophony. Okay, so that's doing that job, increasing the tension. We've got some very, very interesting textures to talk about now. Towards the end, there's this kind of screaming sound. I was very inspired by the old original Alien movie soundtrack and the trailer, particularly for the original film. And there was this kind of scream that happened. So I found what I needed in this sound. So have a listen. There we go. So that's the Car Crush preset. That sounds amazing. Loving what's going on with that. I don't think I did any other modulation on this. It was literally just volume triggers. Then to back that up is something very interesting over here. This felt very sinister. It's not really in your face in terms of the mix. It's a texture that's there. So that's really, really bringing a strange otherworldly feel to it. And that is moving up in pitch using the pitch wheel again. This one, this is great. This texture here, Scrape the Bone. Once again, volume on the automation, gradually bringing that into the picture. We'll start to hear it soon. And fading off as well, because remember, you can't have everything loud at the same time. You've got to move these things around. There is something missing here, something that I forgot to bring in here. I'm trying to remember where I placed it, and it's here. So this is another pad, a bit different. And what I'm going to do is show you here this plugin. This is another Native Instruments plugin. This is called Byte. And you can see what I'm doing here is increasing the parameter here to create this really strong digital distortion, which combines with the visual distortion on the actual movie as well. So I'm really happy with that. You know, I think it's a great set of sounds. This new Native Instruments 25 plugin was perfect for this kind of soundtrack. And of course, it's very versatile. You can use it for all kinds of styles. But for me, this really suited this video sequence at this time of year, which is great, Halloween. So all that remains is for me to say happy Halloween. And of course, happy birthday, Native Instruments. 25 years of incredible plugins and hardware. Thank you.